Hi, welcome back to another episode of Real-World Serverless, a podcast where I speak with real-world practitioners and get their stories from the trenches. Today, I'm welcome back Sam Williams, who's a good friend of mine, and he's been traveling, so he's got lots of stories to tell us about how to strive for proper work-life balance. Hey, Sam, welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me on again.
Yeah, it's been, I think, just over a year since we last spoke on this podcast, and I've been following you on the LinkedIn and see what you've been up to, and you've been traveling, and you've been living, in a van and going to places and rock climbing and do all this really fun, cool stuff that I wish I should be, I can be doing. You're living in Spain right now, so yeah, I guess since we last spoke, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so a couple of things have changed. So I've got a course that I think I may have just about released last time we talked, which is around helping developers, especially like front end developers, transition into full stack developers. And I've kind of been working on that, adding extra videos, extra modules to that. But also, this year is the first year that I've been traveling remotely and kind of working with my clients from a camper van somewhere, you're usually in Europe, and as you say, focusing on striking that work-life balance and trying to like make sure that I'm young and I can make the most of life. So doing it now instead of waiting until I'm 65 and too old and too tired to go rock climbing.
Yeah, I think last time you were on here, you had just launched the 7 serverless projects
Yeah,
course. So I guess this is a new course, a different course. Okay.
yeah. Well, no, so it's the same course, but just adding extra modules to it. But
Ah,
yeah,
okay. Okay, gotcha. I'll put the link in the description below as well, so anyone who want to check it out, they can go and find it. Um, so I guess yeah, we were talking just before we jump on the call here that you had to do a lot of work in the van so that the van itself is fully livable. You've got a shower, you've got the Wi-Fi, you've got everything you need to work and to live in the van. And so that you can basically just travel around. What has that been like? Is that something that you recommend to more people to do? Is there some basic requirement to get there? Like you have to design your van. I think you said that you designed it yourself, right?
yeah. So the whole van, we basically bought an empty van and built and designed everything ourselves. And I think for me, this has been something that I've been focused on as like an end goal for quite a few years. Like I first got into software development because I was an engineer working at Rolls-Royce, and I realized I'm never going to be able to work remotely. Things just go so slowly. So like I've kind of designed my career over the last 7 years to try and move in the direction of flexibility, move in the direction of being able to have a chance to do this kind of thing. So I think have it for people listening, if you feel like this is something you might like in the future, try and take some small steps to give yourself the skills or to find ways of directing your career in a way that is more flexible, and eventually you can try this out. If you don't like it, you've still got an awesome, really flexible career. In terms of the technicalities, yeah, there are. If you build it all yourself, you need all the woodworking and electrical skills and those kind of things. But also, if you're not, there are loads of companies out there that are building custom camper vans. So in ours, we've got two specific desks with like separate screens behind, because as a software developer, just when you see those photos of people working on a beach on their laptop, I feel sorry for them because they're just so cramped on a small laptop. But yeah, you can design your own living space to meet the requirements you have, and then yeah, companies out there can help you realize that. So if you're not handsy, if you're not DIY based, you can still have this kind of very flexible, free life where you can go and experience other cultures and make the most of the nice weather.
Okay. Besides, I guess that for me, I definitely am not the handy when it comes to actually building stuff with my hands. But in terms of other, so I guess the practicalities, is there anything else that you got to think about in terms of maybe now that we've Brexit visas. There's visa you got to think about, or other things like you have to book a space in the camping area so that you have some, I guess, access to like, I don't know, bathrooms, shower, and other things like that. I guess the camping site provides some of that for you, right?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what, like, how extreme you want to go. So we designed it so that we can go to some very remote climbing areas and be completely self-sufficient. So we have solar panels on the roof, we've got a toilet and a shower, everything inside. We've got a very big water tank, we've got a really big battery so that we can, even if it's cloudy for 2 or 3 days, we can still work. We've designed it so that we don't need to be anywhere, which means, in theory, we could go and park in the middle of nowhere for a week and we'd be absolutely fine. On the other end, it having things like going to a campsite. So we're actually at a campsite at the moment. Being able to go there for a couple of weeks, and you've got then a cafe that does really nice coffee in the morning, and you've got bathrooms and showers that are a bit bigger and a bit more comfortable. And like there's a shop in town. Like, having those extra amenities, and like even some campsites have places you can plug your camper van in, so you get all the power you need. You can have your hair dryers, you can have your toasters and your blenders, which, yeah, our van isn't powerful enough to power a blender. So if you feel like you need a blender, then kind of look into those kind of things. But the scope of where you go, you can go for a really small van, you can go for a really big van, pre-made, or buy a used one from someone else. There's loads of options, and loads of different ways of kind of customizing the lifestyle to meet what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be as extreme. It could be just we go away for like a long weekend every couple of weeks. It could be like myself, where we've been traveling for over 2 months now this trip, and 3 months earlier this year. If you like that kind of lifestyle, you can do it. And I think that's one thing I really like, is the flexibility, just to go, we can stay here for as long as we like to. If we get bored of here, we can go somewhere else, we can try something new. And yeah, kind of have a less rigid plan than most people on holiday.
Yeah, that's great. Having that flexibility, I think is it's definitely something that I aim for as well. I saw someone, I think someone commenting on one of your blog posts about what you've been doing, this traveling lifestyle, and said something along the lines of was it work to live rather than live to work? So you're working, for the purpose of being able to have that flexibility in your life to be able to, go and do what you want and live where you want as well. And sounds like from your career to your van and everything, you've been quite explicit in terms of your target. I mean, personally, looking at my career, it's a lot of it just been the luck and just things happening at the right time and getting into the cloud when I got the right job offered at the time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been doing this right now. So, how would how would someone? I guess what advice would you give to someone who's starting the software engineering career right now on one of the things you should be doing to design your career with some kind of end goal in mind, like you've done?
Yeah, so I think, similar to you, I got very lucky. So my second ever job was like a mid-level developer job, and I just happened to work at a startup, and they said, "Oh, by the way, we only use AWS and we only use serverless." So I very quickly had to learn serverless, and at the time realized that there wasn't that many good video tutorials, so started making them. And that kind of accidentally led into me, like, starting my startup and my consultancy, and also the YouTube turned into courses. And I think, looking back at it, I would never have predicted that I would be doing exactly what I am now 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But I could have imagined like the kind of style of what I'm doing now, I definitely did have a plan for. So it was looking at, okay, what moving from engineering to software development, it was what skills and what kind of career path gets me to a more flexible job as quickly as possible. And then what skills can open up opportunities for me down the line. So, kind of trying, if I was a mid level developer now, trying to look at where I want to be, it's finding something that is interesting and new and kind of, but has at least some track record of being a desirable skill. So, and then get really good at it. That's, I think, something that a lot of people kind of shy away from is becoming an expert in one thing. Whether that, for me, that was serverless, but it could be that you go, okay, MongoDB, I'm going to become an expert at that, or payment security, or it could be any other kind of subtopic within a larger topic. Really focusing on learning that, getting as much practical experience using those tools and in that environment as possible, because I think practical skills and experience are kind of very, very undervalued. Um, you see lots of like senior developers, or people going around talking about their list of AWS certifications, and you think, oh, that's what makes them an expert. But what you don't often see is the the huge number of projects they've built, or the 5 services that they've really got good at and are known in the industry as, oh, if I need to do something with time stream DB, I need to go to this person, or step functions are this person's an expert. I think having that expert nature, some people think that it means it'll close doors because you're not as good at other things. But in reality, I find it's often better to be an expert in something than that whole jack of all trades versus an expert in a master of one.
Yeah, that's certainly consistent with a lot of what I've been reading about and learning about consulting and solo entrepreneurship, where everyone's been talking about. Yeah, you want to find your niche, maybe even a sub niche, if the niche is not so small anymore, and more people are getting into it. And you said, you definitely want to be the guy for something as opposed to someone who just does a bit of everything. And I think in terms of areas that has got a lot of potential. Now, I was just talking to Sean Wang yesterday, and he was the one that kind of coined the term AI engineer. And now there are jobs posting for AI engineers, and AI is definitely the area where there's a lot of I guess it's so early, it's still relatively early, so that everyone's kind of pretty much on level footing, and there's going to be a lot of demand going forward for people with experience and knowledge about AI. And speaking of AI, you've also been doing some work with using AI, building AI power tools. You had a LinkedIn power tool, which I saw you were using a while back, and I think you said that you built it over like a weekend or something like that, which I thought was quite a nice story. So tell us about how you got the idea, how you built it, and what you've been doing since.
Yeah, so LinkedIn Power Tools was kind of an idea that I'd always been looking for startup ideas. Kind of, I've always had that entrepreneurial kind of desire. And I was scrolling through LinkedIn, and one of the creators that I follow talked about how they spend 8 hours a day on LinkedIn, and 7 hours of that day is commenting on as many posts as possible, because the more people they comment on, then that actually means their own posts are seen by more people, and they can also connect with other creators by commenting on their posts and build relationships. And I was like, that's great, but I can't spend all day writing comments. And yeah, another creator said that they were spending 2 hours a day creating, just commenting on posts. And I was like, is there a way I can use this new GPT OpenAI model to kind of speed up the process a little bit? So I literally copied the text from a random LinkedIn post I found, pasted it into ChatGPT, and asked it to come up with an original reply to it, and it did an okay job. At that point, I kind of knew I was onto something. From there, yeah, I went and built out some APIs, built the first little Chrome extension, and yeah, as you said, the term like prompt engineer is becoming a lot more of a common phrase, and I think with a lot of these AI models becoming freely available to everyone, or not free, but available to everyone, the the differentiator is going to now be around what are the prompts that you're passing in to these AI models, and how well have you crafted them. So, for example, if you just say, write a LinkedIn comment for this post, it will give you something very generic, very boring. What you can do is you can customize it. And this is one of the first features that I released after I had some beta testers, was tone of voice. So being able to say, write a funny post or write a comment that disagrees with this post. And the really nice thing with Lambda is that you can iterate really quickly. So my generate comment prompt changed a huge amount over the first couple of weeks. But yeah, the first version was built in a weekend and was just a Chrome extension that called API Gateway, had a Lambda, that called OpenAI, and sent that back to the Chrome extension. It was very simple in terms of architecture, but it solved the problem. It meant that anyone could write, instead of spending 2 hours writing comments, you could click this button, get usually a relatively good comment, tweak it a little bit to make it sound a little bit more like yourself, and then reply. And it would save about 2 minutes per comment, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're spending a third of the time, you've now got more time to spend on the rest of your business.
Yeah, and I imagine with the some of the new changes that they've announced at the OpenAI Dev Day recently, you can probably even do more now because they have the whole RAG kind of built in now. From what Sean was telling me yesterday, maybe like the built-in version of the RAG or the retrieval, was it the augment generation is not that great, but you can still maybe even like customize the voice so that it's personalized to you, so that maybe you upload a few of your own writings and comments in the past, so that straight away you've got this kind of like automation that can write comments in a certain tone, in a certain sort of agreement or disagreement, but in your voice, based on what the documents that you've uploaded about your writing style. So I guess that's something that's you can also now do probably a lot more easier with the new OpenAI APIs. I think we were also talking beforehand as well that you've been working on some. Actually, before we move on to the next thing, the LinkedIn Power Tools, you also had some troubles with LinkedIn because of the name or something like that, right?
Yeah, so I ran LinkedIn Power Tools. Eventually, I made it available as like a SaaS subscription, so you could pay $30 a month, and you would get, I think it was something like up to 50 comments a day. And at one point, I had like 15 users, like paying users, and about 400 free users. So it was working, and people really enjoyed it. And that kept ticking over for a couple of months. And then LinkedIn did a copyright strike on my Chrome extension because it was called LinkedIn Power Tools. And this is one thing that, yeah, was definitely a learning point, was make sure you never include the brand name or any brand name in any startups you do, because, yeah, you don't own that name. So unfortunately, I have had to take it down. This was about a month and a half ago, so it's no longer available. In theory, I could restart it and reboot it with a new name, and that is something I'm looking at doing. And especially, yeah, as you said, with these new releases from OpenAI, there are loads of extra kind of interesting and cool ways that we can kind of I could take this product even further. Um, one of the one of the really fancy things that a lot of people didn't really notice in the Dev Day release, that everyone's noticing, oh, you can make your own GPT engine or you can do this retrieval stuff. But the thing that jumped out to me the most was the fact that you can now, by API, you can you can pass in images. So before, the only way to pass in images was actually in the Chat GPT interface. You could upload images there, but you couldn't do that via API. So, as a little proof of concept, I thought I would try and see how quickly I could build some AI powered tools that use this image kind of library. And what I came up with, the first one was, um, again, I'm on LinkedIn all of the time, so I was scrolling through, and one of the accounts that I follow quite a lot, what he does is he looks at a landing page for a website, usually for SaaS websites, and he'll go through it and say, "Oh, this is really good. The title's great, but the color scheme's a bit weird, and then the testimonials they're too far down." And he'll analyze their landing page. I thought, can we automate that? So I built a very simple, again, API gateway and a Lambda, had a built-in prompt, and what I could do is I could send the URL of a any website, and it would then generate a basically a transcription of what was good and what was bad about that landing page. And it's very much a proof of concept at the moment, but with a little bit more prompt engineering and design, I think it could become something where any SaaS startup could either drop a competitor's landing page in there or drop their own landing page in and very quickly get some actionable feedback to make them go, this is really good, but it's missing social proof, or oh, this other competitor has put a badge on their landing page, like the badge of AWS. Therefore, that's transferring trust. We should try and do that and try and use it to get a competitive edge. And that that whole API, the whole business logic behind that, took about an hour and a half to deploy. So yeah, it's technically it's not that difficult. It's finding the ideas out there that solve a painful problem that users out there have, whether it's a SaaS founder that doesn't know how to make their landing page better. It could be like a business administrator who is trying to process a load of images that get sent to them. Why not build a little system where it takes each of those photos and summarizes them or organizes them into tags and then puts those into folders so that it isn't a manual process. There's loads of ideas out there with this image kind of understanding and image processing that you can do. So yeah, looking forward to seeing all the new startups that pop up in the next couple of months around this visual capabilities.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because that's something that I spend a lot of time just looking at other people's landing pages for their courses, and looking at mine own as well. I spend so much time just tweaking my landing pages, moving the testimonials and make them pop out a bit more, and things like that. You spend so much time just sort of micro optimizing your landing page, just by looking at some other people's, what they're doing. Like I looked at Justin Walsh, his landing page for his LinkedIn operating system course.
Yeah.
I really like this how he displayed the testimonials, like a moving a carousel. So I copied that for mine, and a bunch of other things like that. And if you got something that can automate a lot of that process, I think that's going to be really good. I guess what's interesting for me for that is how do you then train GPT to know what is good design for a landing page, or has it seen enough already that is just based on the foundational model, for GPT is already good enough to and can tell you what is a good and bad landing page?
So far, I found that with the initial kind of tests that I've done on the different landing pages I've tested, the foundational model is able to give you a really good kind of basic level understanding. And so, for example, I did a breakdown of the DevOps Bootcamp by Nana, and it was able to pick out some of the elements from her landing page that I don't have in mine. And I know that I'm like in the process now of updating my own landing page based on feedback that it gave me. So I think for if you are an expert landing page designer, it probably the at least the core model won't be able to give you advice on how to micro optimize that last 0.5%. But for most founders who are maybe just built a very quick landing page from some template, or kind of haven't had a professional copywriter to design the title and the headings, I think that this will be able to give you kind of a really good first version. But then as the person building this software, kind of OpenAI has given us loads of ways that we can improve the service for our end users. So the first thing is, as we talked about earlier, is like prompt engineering. Instead of saying, here is a landing page, tell me what's good and what's bad, we can actually expand that command a lot more and ask for specific things, ask for more information, ask for specific types of information. We can also do things like passing extra information into the engine. So, for example, we could, as well as passing the image of the landing page, we could scrape the text, scrape all the headings. And I had a chat with a guy called Tom Winter, who does SEO Wind. I think it's .io, which is an SEO AI powered SEO service. And he said that in his system, to write a 2,000 word article using AI, they pass in about 7,000 words of data. So they pass in like the prompt and the topic, but they also pass in the like the heading structure for the top 10 competitive articles. They also pass in lots of metadata. They pass in questions that have been asked on Quora, on Reddit, on Google search. They pass in so much extra information so that the AI has more context to generate a better response. So, yeah, I think there's kind of 3 stages of optimizing your AI application. If you're, again, using AI, OpenAI or Bedrock, it's get something working, then it's optimize your prompt by adding more data or customizing it. And then, as you talked about earlier, there's the kind of either custom models or the like augmenting that with with extra training and fine tuning, um, which can go way beyond that. But unfortunately, fine tuning and especially custom models get very expensive if you want to use them through OpenAI. I think if you want a completely custom model through OpenAI, the starting price is about $2 million. So, unfortunately, slightly outside of the range for most companies. But if you're working for a massive organization and this AI process could be saving you £5 million a year, spending 2 million on getting it built the first time isn't going to be that like I was chatting with someone on LinkedIn earlier about law firms and how whenever they get a case, they normally have their paralegals, which are kind of the research assistants. They'll spend a day or two, a team of them, scraping through all of the files, all the documents, getting relevant case files, putting it all together, all so that they can basically hand one big file with everything marked and everything selected to the lawyer. We were saying that with the new OpenAI context, you can pass in about 300 pages of text. We could make that job way quicker, way faster, and save law firms thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars by being able to speed up the process so they can handle more cases, or so they don't need as many paralegals to prepare all of that kind of case files.
Yeah, I guess the whole thing of building, finding the precedents, that's a lot of work, when it comes to legal cases, especially big legal cases. And there was also this news, I don't know if you saw a while back, where there's like I think a lawyer went to court and presented a bunch of precedents that he found from ChatGPT, but it turns out they were all hallucinations. And I think he got told off by the judge, when the judge, I think judge's own assistants went and checked those precedents and found none of them were actually were real. So I guess that's also something that you got to be careful. I guess when you're training and fine tuning your model, make sure that you're getting the accuracy right. I guess with the 128 kilobytes context window now, potentially even for your project, you can probably even find some of the people that's been writing about what makes a good landing page, launching a course page, and things like that. I think I actually bought a couple of books around that. You can potentially take some of the key points from there and just kind of feed it into your application. Using augmented retrieval. So that as you're doing this, you're also feeding in the best advice that you found from people who's been doing this by hand. But now you're basically getting a piece of their brain, of their mind, and putting them into your application to automate a lot of this process.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the things I was like, before you even go on to like the augmented retrieval, because you've got now 128 thousand tokens of context, you can just have a really, really long prompt. You can just pass in, you can say, okay, write an assessment of this landing page. Here are 3 examples from an expert landing page reviewer. And you can just take the transcript or take the analysis from when other experts have done a landing page breakdown, and you can pass those in as examples so that the AI models know. And then, of course, yeah, once that works, you can then move that into this augmented retrieval process. And in theory, yeah, you can expand the scope of kind of the examples that you have. You could do some awesomely crazy stuff. And yeah, I think it's going to be, I think that, yeah, we've already seen how many jobs and how many kind of careers have been very, very strongly affected by the change in AI recently, from software developers having the GitHub Copilot. I know I use it basically every day, and it doesn't solve every problem, but it speeds up my coding, and it means that I don't have to write and press every single key. We've seen, like, as you say, lawyers who are able to do massive amounts of research far quicker. People being able to generate hundreds and thousands of like SEO optimized web articles in a matter of minutes. And I think, yeah, this is the start of a very, very, very significant change in how everybody works. It's not just developers, it's not just content creators. I think there's going to be very few jobs in the world that in 5 years look the same.
Yeah, it's a bit scary. And I guess I was actually going to ask you as well that when you made the LinkedIn Power Tools, did you also use ChatGPT or something to help you write the Chrome extension? Because it's not one of the things that I've ever done, and I'm sure that you've had to do it. I think last time I actually used Sean Wang's small developer to help me bootstrap a project that's basically doing like a Chrome extension. Did you do
I
something similar to use ChatGPT to teach you how to write the Chrome extension?
I really wish I had done. I didn't think to. I'd done a Chrome extension before and was like, oh, it'll be just the same. But obviously, I was doing way more complicated stuff this time. And yeah, like I was, yeah, still using GitHub Copilot, so it helped a little bit. But yeah, I know that there are people out there you can just like ask ChatGPT to build you a whole Chrome extension. It'll just give you all of the files. And some people have said it works quite well, like gives you a good starting ground. Um, I don't think it's yet at the point where it can completely replace a developer, and I don't think it's yet at the point where software companies can now just be a load of managers writing Jira tickets that connect to ChatGPT. I think before that happens, yeah, knowing requirements and having requirements written correctly is probably as much of a limitation as the AI itself.
Yeah, so I think Copilot and the Code Whisper from AWS is great for those incremental small tasks, and Sean's small developer is quite good for just bootstrapping a project. You can give it a prompt for what you're trying to do, maybe even give it some examples for APIs, the spec that you want to call. It can spit out a whole project for you, and you can that can be your starting point. And so I think the two of them are quite useful tools for you to just, especially when you're building something that you've never done before. Like Chrome extension for me would be completely new, so I wouldn't even know where to begin. So saves me a lot of that research time. But on that point about being able to in order to use AI to get the result that you want, you have to have really good description of what it is that you want. And I think half the job of a software engineer is just to figuring out what's the actual requirements, because requirements are always a bit fussy. They're never quite clearly thought out. There's a lot of edge cases that the product owners that are not thinking about. So part of your job is just to figuring those things out. So I think until the people who are thinking about the product ideas have got a really crystallized idea of how everything's going to work, I think we are still going to be okay, and AI is going to be good for us, to be able to get our job done a lot faster and a lot more efficiently.
Yeah, I was talking with Luciano last week about serverless architecture, and kind of one of the key takeaways I got from his talk, his from chatting with him was around the fact that I would give him some context or a question. Normally, before he'd give me anything back, he would always ask a couple of questions. He would confirm something, say, "Oh, do you mean this?" or like look for more information. And I suspect that, especially with some of like the Lang chain kind of agents kind of stuff in the AI world, where it has the ability to go, I don't have enough information, I need to ask more questions. I think that's going to be a really big like next step where AI models start identifying that they don't have the right information, or like imagine if you were chatting to ChatGPT like, oh, build me a Chrome extension to do this, and instead of just spitting you out something, it says, oh, I need to ask these 5 questions, and like having a conversation. I think that's going to be where it gets, I don't know how it's going to get even more powerful, but I think it will, where it will start filling in the blanks where it's got bits of it missing information, so it's able to ensure that it's able to make the best result possible. But yeah, as you say, without the full requirements, without all of the information, an AI is never going to be as good. It's always that garbage in, garbage out um, from years back. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of months and years.
Yeah, and also I guess as a consultant, a lot of the time, the client will ask me to, and how do I do this? And my first response would be, what is it that you're trying to do exactly? Because they already, when it comes to you, they already have a solution in mind. That they don't know how to implement that solution. But what you really want to find out is what was the end, what is the goal? And there's a good chance that the solution that they have kind of jumped to straight away is not the right thing to do in the first place. And I feel that a lot of time with with the AI tools that we have right now, you ask you try very hard to give you a solution for exactly what you're asking without really asking okay, what is it that you're actually trying to do here, instead of trying to give you something that's a bit of a hack and workaround for something, rather than just, okay, what you're trying to do and what you're telling me to do is not the most efficient way to do things. Instead, go back to basics, kind of ask the 5 whys, and then get you to figure out what it is that you need, not what you want. I think that's that's a really big part of my job as a consultant, just trying to figure out what the customer needs as opposed to what they want. I think that's something that the AI probably still need to do. Still to evolve, like I said, filling more of the blank, and I think it's already doing a lot. I mean, when I ask ChatGPT questions, it's able to. I don't know if it's able to infer from the previous conversations I've had with them, but it's able to infer things like, oh, I'm asking something and it's giving me a solution in the using server framework or cloud formation template and using Node.js, even though I didn't explicitly say, give me the example in JavaScript. So I don't know if he's able to just infer from previous conversations and kind of know a bit more about me and what I'm asking about already. And I'm pretty sure that as more data, as it gets more data, it's going to do a better job in the future as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because is ChatGPT behind the scenes that the OpenAI owned interface actually storing more data about what it's being questioned about than we think, and building like a user profile about Yan Shui? Like, yeah, does it have that record somewhere saying, oh, he no like preferred IAC serverless framework, preferred language Node.js? Yeah, that'd be a
Yeah, maybe. I guess we also talked about earlier about OpenAI's new Vision API, and you talked about how you can use it to sort of analyze landing pages. But you also mentioned earlier, before we jump on the call, that you had another idea for another app that you've been working on as well.
yeah. So this one was more kind of trying to see how far I could push things. So I thought being able to analyze an image and then ask some questions about it is great, but kind of, is there a way that we can go from here's an image to here's another kind of image? So I thought what would be really cool is if you could like pass up the floor plan of your house, and the idea was it would then be able to give you back an image with that same floor plan, but with all the furniture drawn in to kind of optimize it for whatever you wanted. So, for example, uh, could you say, "Here's my floor plan," opposite, like design the layout to maximize the ability to host friends, or maximize it to for feng shui, for chi balance. I'm not sure what the technical terms are. I am definitely not an interior designer, but can you do that? So yeah, I had a go, and kind of I broke it down into multiple steps. So the first is you pass up your floor plan, and then any requirements you have, like what kind of style you want, or the kind of optimization you want. Is it for space? Is it you've got kids? Other kind of context that will help design. And from there, it kind of, I went from the image to a text design. So that works absolutely perfectly. It can give you a really nice breakdown of, in room one, have a chair that's sat in the corner, have the queen bed up against the left wall, and have it so that it's open to the window, and it gives you a really nice breakdown of how to lay it out. From there, there are two other APIs that OpenAI have. One is an image editing tool. So you can pass up an image, and then you can pass up a mask, which kind of shades out a little bit of that image. And then you give it a prompt, and it will kind of use the prompt to fill in the shaded bit. So if anyone's used Photoshop, it's a little bit like context-aware fill, but all via API. So their example is they've got a photo of a swimming pool, they shade out a little bit, and then say, create me a photo of a swimming pool with a flamingo in it. And it creates a photo of a flamingo. And my first try was, can I generate an image with all of the furniture drawn into it? I actually found this really difficult, and I'm not sure whether it's to do with the prompt or to do with the way that you have to mask things out. But I wasn't able to, at least in the, like, I spent about 2 hours trying to do this a couple of days ago. It's not something I've spent days trying. And if anyone out there wants to have a go, please have a go and let me know how it goes. But yeah, I found that it wasn't that good at kind of adding very small amounts of detail to an existing image. But then I thought, okay, how can I pivot this? So I pivoted it and said, okay, let's just pick one room and now generate me a brand new image of this room. And this worked really well, surprisingly. So what I can do is I can pass up the floor plan and say, design me the layout of this room for, I don't know, for having 2 kids, and optimize it so there's lots of space for playing in the middle of the bedroom. It will then generate the layout and a description of that room. That you can then pass in as a prompt to the image generation, and it will then generate a photographic, like, realistic image of that room. So I've done this a couple of times and like designed like a really fancy modern master bedroom, or designed, I think I've designed a kitchen layout, all via API. And I am not a designer, but some of the images and the renders that came back looked really good. And I think I could imagine this being the kind of thing where if you are if you are an interior designer, you add a little thing to your website where it's like, take a photo of your bedroom and we'll use AI to redesign it for you. So anyone can go snap a photo of their bedroom or of their kitchen or of their living room, upload it, and that will then regenerate an image of their living room or of their bedroom in a brand new style. And I think that could be a really good lead magnet or lead like service for architectural design firms or for interior designers to be able to do something a little bit different that no one else is doing. Like, instead of having to wait 3 weeks and pay, I know some interior designers cost thousands and thousands of dollars to just do one bedroom. Imagine being able to take a photo, click one button, and 30 seconds later you've got a modern design for your bedroom, or you've got an art deco design, or you've got a new layout for your living room that is better optimized for lighting. Like, imagine if you could do that. I think that's something that a lot of companies could make use of. I am going to make a video in the very near future about how I built all of this. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that, and I'll go through all the code and explain how it's all put together. And yeah, you can use that as like a template for your own startup ideas.
And I guess you will also be very useful tool for like real estate companies who are, you see lots of real estate listings that have basically no furniture, but then they have to put some furniture in there so that they can give you a sense of what it might look like once it's been fully furnished. You can potentially use tools like these to auto generate rental properties that you're looking to rent out unfurnished, but give you a sense of what it may look like once you put some nice sofas and TV stands and things like that into the space. Potentially that's going to be a lot easier compared to whatever it is that they're using right now. I've seen some real estate agencies do something, but I think it probably takes a lot more work than just write a prompt
Yeah, so
and generate it in a couple of seconds.
so that's a brilliant example of how you can of just a slight twist or a pivot in a business idea that could actually turn out to be incredibly profitable if you charged these estate agencies, I don't know, $20 to do a house and generate 5 images. That's not too bad. It's if they have to manually carry furniture in and out of a house, or if they have to sit there in Photoshop dragging little images of beds and sofas and chairs or whatever, that's going to take ages. If you can say for $20, we're gonna AI generate you uh, photos of your house but fully furnished. Yeah, that could be amazing. How many houses get rented out by rental agencies each year? Yeah, this could be it could be a nice side hustle. It could be that it makes millions of dollars every year if you grow it and scale it right. Like there's so many different ideas, and yeah, you can always pivot, you can always change it, you can always update what you're doing. And at the rate that AI is going, there's going to be some new features you can add to it to make it even better in 6 months' time.
Yeah, and I can imagine with the image edit, the API as well, that potentially if you take you go to someone's property, trying to help them sell it, and their property just a bit of a mess, you can probably also use the image edit API to just edit out all the junk, all the rubbish they have on the floor and things like that, and just make it look a lot more presentable when you put it onto Rightmove or whatever property listing websites, so that so that they probably get a few more a few more people coming into to view the property.
Yeah, definitely. And this is just these are just two very simple ideas that I came up with it, and I'm sure people out there listening will have their own expertise in their own kind of niches where it might be as part of your job, it might be part of kind of your hobby, it might be something completely unrelated that you're just interested in. Like you'll have experience and you'll have domain knowledge about your area. And yeah, there's going to be so many ideas out there, and with these new APIs, it's easier than ever for someone to build something very quickly and relatively cheaply that can do things that even 2 years ago would have cost would have cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars hiring an expert team of AI engineers, actual data scientists, months to build. You can now do in a half an hour with an API gateway and a Lambda function.
Yeah, and the great thing about the building with serverless is that you also don't pay for it if no one uses it. So if it bombs, then you're not paying anything.
Yeah, I've got so many startups that that have like 2 or 3 free users and no one else uses it, but I'm not sat there spending like $50 a month on servers or anything like that. They just sit there, and if I ever need to talk about them, it's just like, oh yeah, the API still works. I can still talk about it, still demo it, and if someone finds it and for some reason likes it, then yeah, I've got an extra sale.
Yeah, I recently rebuilt my whole affiliate tracking thing, and I looked at the SaaS applications out there. They were crazy pricey. I think the cheapest ones were about $100 per month, and the more expensive ones are like $1, $2, $3,000 a month. So I spent like a weekend building it myself, and yeah, it's not costing me anything. And yeah, it's with serverless, you got that cost efficiency, but also if you do need to scale, if someone picks it up on social media and it does become successful, you also have that scalability and redundancy out of the box as well. So it's not just a case of you pay very little for something that's crap, but you're paying something very little, but it's actually quite good. So if you need to scale, you can, and so it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I was just going to say that with that LinkedIn Power Tools tool, I think at one point we were generating like several thousand comments a day, and the infrastructure for that was exactly the same as the infrastructure on the very first day. Uh, that first weekend, the only thing that changed was checking if they'd got a membership or not. But yeah, I was able to generate thousands and thousands like of comments a day with the same infrastructure and the same code, which yeah, with especially with traditional architecture, you go from it's running on a single EC2 to we're on a cluster, and now we need multi AZ clusters and auto scaling groups, and yeah, it can get a lot more complicated. But yeah, serverless is just such a nice kind of set of tools to start your business on, because it means you can focus on the business and not focus on everything else.
Yeah, Luke Van Donker's wrote a really good post about how it's like standing on the shoulder of giants because it's cheap when you don't have any traffic, but when you do need to have handle lots of users, you've still got that massive compute backbone from AWS that you can scale and tap into on demand and only pay for what you use. I should I'll put a link to the article as well, Luke's article, so you guys can have a look and see what me and Sam's talking about while we're so so keen on the serverless. But yeah, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And it's really good to see what you've been doing with the traveling, and it's great for you to share your new project ideas. I guess if your products your new projects are ready to demo by the time this goes out in a few weeks' time, then send the link and I'll include them in the description below as well, so that anyone who wants to try it out, I'll be probably quite interested to check out the landing page optimization AI tool that you've got in the pipeline. So
Yeah, of course.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, thank you for having me on. It's always really good chatting with you, and yeah, getting to see your insight into a lot of these things. And yeah, looking forward to hopefully meeting you in person again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Enjoy the sunshine in Spain. The weather here is kind of gloomy. It's kind of a bit of a storm outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to catch up with you in person soon.
Okay. Have a nice day.
All right, take it easy, mate. Okay, bye bye.